up in the sky at night, you don't see the sun. What do you see? You see the moon! It's big and white. Sometimes it's long and skinny and white. Whatever it is, that's the moon. That's what's in the sky at nighttime. So let's learn about it a little more, because obviously it's so important we see it every day. Let's talk about the moon.
The moon is Earth's nearest neighbor. It is a ball of rock that moves around Earth. The moon does not make its own light. It looks like it shines because it gets light from the sun. The moon's surface is dry. It is covered with rocks and dust.
So, the moon itself, what's it like? Well, the moon is up in the sky and it's Earth's nearest neighbor. It's the closest thing to us. That's what Raptong is showing you here. It is a ball of rock that moves around the Earth. So it moves around us. That is the moon. The moon does not make its own light. It's not producing any light. It looks like it shines though because it's reflecting the light from the sun. It's getting the light from the sun. The moon's surface itself is dry and it's covered with rocks and dust. That's the moon. Okay, so we said that the moon doesn't produce any light. It doesn't make its own light. It reflects the light from the sun. So the light from the sun shines onto the moon and then it reflects it back. Reflect means to turn it back. So let's practice that word because that's a good one for understanding the moon. Reflect. The moon reflects the sun. Practice it after me. Reflect. Reflect. Excellent. The moon reflects the light from the sun.
Each day the moon seems to change shape, but the moon does not really get bigger and change shape. The labor of the moon that we can see changes. Each shape of the moon is called a phase. The first phase is the new moon. Each night after the new moon, we can see more of the moon. After about 14 nights, we can see a full moon. When the moon is full, Earth is between the sun and the moon. We can see all of the moon's lit sides.
So a big question is, why does the moon seem to change shape? Sometimes it seems big, sometimes it seems small, sometimes it seems long and sliver. We don't know. The lit part of the moon is where we can see the changes. It seems to go in phases. Each shape is called a phase. So the new moon is really big and huge. We can see more of the moon because of where it is in the sky. But after about 14 nights, after that we can see the full moon when it's its largest. And then in the cycle it goes back to being small again. So Earth is between the sun and the moon, so we see the different changes and we can see all of the moon's lit side. Sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller. It depends on the phases. We have a lot of ceremonies or celebrations around the full moon. 14 days after the new moon, when it's at its biggest, that's the full moon. Can you think of some ceremonies? Maybe like Thanksgiving. We have Thanksgiving around the new moon. Yes, that's true. So following the moon cycle is important because it helps you know where we are in the month. The moon cycle lasts 1 month, around and around.
After the full moon, the moon begins to lose light from the sun. We see less of the moon. to a full moon and back again.
So let's talk about the full moon to the new moon. This is the rest of the cycle. After the full moon, when it's at its biggest, the moon begins to lose light from the sun. We see less of it, so we think it's getting smaller. Rapt is telling you after about a month, the moon seems to disappear again. But then we're beginning the whole cycle. It's the new moon phase. It takes the moon about a month to change every single time. To change from a new moon to a full moon and back again in the cycle. That's how it goes around and around. That's the cycle of the moon. So when we start, we have a new moon. Then after 2 weeks, we get a full moon. That takes 2 weeks. Then it goes through the rest of the cycle and it seems to disappear and get smaller and smaller. And then it starts again, back to the full moon. How long does that cycle take? Does it take a day? No, that's just one day. That's one night. Does it take a year? No, because we see the moon go around all the time. How long does it take? 1 month. It takes 1 month to get a new moon. That is the cycle that we're talking about. So now you can talk about the moon cycles around and around. So this has been the cycle and the phases of the moon. When you look up into the sky and it's its most bright, that's called a full moon. When you look out tonight, what kind of moon will you see? You might see a big moon in the first half of the cycle or a small moon in the second half of the cycle. Where is the moon located? It's located in space, exactly. And what does it rotate around? Does it rotate around the sun or the earth? It rotates around the earth. It goes around and around the earth. It's a little planet like that. It's the moon. And what is it like on the moon's surface? Is it hot and wet or is it cold and dry and dusty? We learned when we saw our favorite characters on the moon that it's dry and dusty and cold. It's not hot. The sun's hot, but the moon isn't hot. Can you think of some ceremonies or celebrations we have related to the moon? Well, usually Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving depends on the moon calendar. In some places, Easter. A lot of countries celebrate Easter. And Easter also depends on the moon cycle. That's how it goes around and around, and that's how we set some dates between Easter and Thanksgiving, between different cycles of the moon. So I challenge you. It's a challenge and an adventure. When you are outside tonight, look up and see the moon. Then you can tell me, what stage is it in? Is it really big or really small? Is it changing? How bright is it? Wow, lots of stuff that you can report about the moon. So I challenge you. Let's have a look at the moon and report back.